We've left a hot bin for a few days now without even, feeding it or doing anything, and if you look what's happening, we're dropping rather than rising. So I think for us we're going to have to take all of this out and just see what's going on again, because there's obviously some restriction with the airflow, and I put waste in a couple of days ago and nothing's really happening. So let's take it out and see what's going on. As I'm taking these layers off, I can feel the heat there, so there is some restriction with the airflow again. And then you can see the steam coming out, but there's like parts like that that just seem to be clogging everything up. So the heat is definitely there, so I'm just thinking we might need a good stir up to get some airflow going, and where it's a bit compacted, if we maybe add some more bulking agent in with it and paper, that should hopefully get things, up and running again. Because as I'm going lower, I can feel, the heat.
It's grass, isn't it?
Right, as I'm going to the bottom here, I can feel like a bit of a gap, so if I can get all that mixed in, I think that might be our problem.
What do you mean the gap?
Like you can feel like it hasn't fallen down properly.
So wouldn't it be better for the airflow?
Well, I think it just doesn't. I think there's sometimes that's happened to me where like you mix it all up from right down the bottom and it just seems to start working again. It's not mega wet, is it? So I'm gonna add in some more bulking agent just to try and revive this and get it up to temperature, and I'm gonna add some more paper and cardboard, although it's not really that wet, but because there's still some grass there that is has got a bit of moisture in it, I'm going to add some more paper and bulking agent. But as I'm stirring this, I can feel the heat is there and I can feel the bin wants to come back to life, so hopefully this like real good stir up and adding some more paper and bulking agent is gonna be enough to resuscitate it, because no one likes a cold hot bin, and for me, if the hot bin's cold, then all my personal life seems to be in a bit of a mess as well. So once we get this up to temperature, hopefully my personal life will pick up a bit. So a bit more bulking agent before I put the next layers in. And remember, we've been adding bulking agent and paper to all this, in the last few days, so ideally it's not, it's not so wet. If it was a lot wetter and we've got nice weather, then you could actually just take it all out into like a big container and you could just leave it out to dry out for a bit all day before you put it back in the bin. But ours isn't dripping wet. So that's more bulking agent and paper added, a really good stir up, and fingers crossed we might start having the temperature dial rise up rather than going down. And come back later on and we'll see what's happening. Hi all, back for this monumental episode of trying to get the Hotbin back up to temperature. I've come out after leaving it, I think a day or two. We didn't do anything with it, and it's still just sticking around the 40 degrees. The leachate that's come out isn't tons of it, so it's not the fact that it's mega wet, but for some reason I just can't seem to get it to go over 40 degrees. I just empty that before I stand on it and it goes all over my jeans and legs, and then I have an even worse day than normal. But if you look inside, we're still just 40 degrees and no more. This is becoming a bit of a deja vu, so if you are watching this video and you keep thinking this is just repeating itself, well, it's not. This is like nearly a week's worth of trying to get it above the green. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to take the bloody lot out of it, and I'm going to just check through the whole lot of it, and then
Find some gold.
Check the airflow is not restricted in any way, and I'm going to put some fresh waste in when I put it all back in the hot bin. Hatch door is off, and as the missus described it, it stinks like a toilet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all of this out today, and we're going to just check through the whole lot and see where we're going wrong. I've decided now that we're going to dry this out in containers just to get some of the moisture and the smell out of it. And so I can really check through this to see that it's where like there might be clumps happening. It doesn't seem like really wet, but for some reason it just the grass is sort of clumping together, so I just want to check through everything. So I thought I'd lay it out and just try and dry it out while I'm sorting the hot bin out and checking the airflow. I'm taking the base plate out just to check like all the holes are free, so just for while the whole thing's empty, that'd just be easier for me to do while I can get it out. This is what this video is going to be, a mammoth video if we don't cut most of the the stuff that we filmed. The missus is going to do a bit of a magic editing, so we're going to combine that down, but basically I was just adding the wood chippings and more paper every time to see if it would come up, and it's not. So today, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have a job at the moment, so it means if the Hotbin company want to offer us a job, then go for it. And so what that means is I've managed to take everything out. It's quite sort of blowy and warmish today, so I'm letting that aerate and try to dry out a little bit. If I was working, and I've done this before, I'd just like let it sit there all day, and when I've come back from work, then I'll give it a stir up, and then I'll put it back into the hot bin. But what I'm going to do is just let that dry out as much as possible for a couple of hours. The hot bin's been emptied. I've made sure all the holes in the base plate are nice and clear. I've put that back, put the door back on and strapped it all up, so it's all ready for me to introduce this back into the hot bin. So although I've had this dry in most of the day, I'm still checking through it, and I'm still finding little clumps of grass that have just sort of knitted all together, which is going to restrict the airflow. And because those little clumps are still quite wet, so I'm going to add a bit more shredded paper as I go along, but I'm not going to add any more bulking agent now because, you know, as I'm going through this, there is quite a lot of bulking agent in there, so that should be fine. But just to prevent that, you know, that smell is still around a tiny bit, that's why I'm just going to add some extra paper in, just to absorb that moisture that might be present in some of the clumps of grass. Everything now has been put back in. There's some shredded paper gone in between like the layers of buckets that I've been putting in, just to help with like that little bit of moisture content. And I've not put bulking agent, as I said, but when I've put the thermometer in now, we're at, you know, about 25 degrees, so I'm not going to put the hot water bottle in. I think there's enough heat in there that it's going to, you know, come up itself. And also I put some fresh, you know, kitchen waste in there from, you know, from like our waste bin, and just to give it, you know, some fresh waste. So let's, you know, hope for everyone's sake that it does come up into the green and start rising now. Last time I was at the Hotbin, I put some extra waste in. That was 2 days ago, and really, although we were close to, you know, 40 degrees, it's not really rising as quick as I was hoping. And so today is real hot, a little bit of a breeze. So what I thought, although the bin isn't so smelly as it was, I thought as it was going to be so warm today, I'd just take out, you know, I've taken probably just over half out, and I'm just going to dry that out for a few hours while we go out. And in the bottom, I've just give that a real good stir up again to get some air into it. And I think what I'm going to do now is, when I come back later on, or even tomorrow, I'm going to cut the, you know, some of the grass here because it's sort of grown and it's got quite long, and I'm going to add that in there and see if that gets the temperature to go up. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll be back with the results. 7:30 at night, it's starting to draw in now, and you know, this Hotbin has been playing on my mind so much, probably more than it plays on Jean's mind. But I always find when the Hotbin doesn't work properly, I find that a bit sort of frustrating and depressing as well. So yesterday, while everyone was out, I took the hatch door off because it still wasn't, you know, getting above 40. So I took the hatch door off and I took everything out of the bottom there and just checked to see if there was any blockages going on again. I took as much of the bottom out and I just reloaded it all in, and then I just was so peed off. I just went to the shed and got, you know, a couple of buckets of stuff that we just had lying around for a while. I just cut all that up and I just chucked everything in out of frustration. And then I saw it was sort of creeping up this morning, and then this evening I've put some fresh stuff in, and you know, I'm happy to say that we're actually, you know, in the halfway mark. So for probably 3 weeks we never moved up above that, you know, 40 degrees green bit, but now we're actually, you know, back up to how it should be working. So as the missus says, one mistake equals 3 weeks repair. So don't make that mistake I made in the first place. So after weeks of agony, I've had to come out in no t-shirt today because it's so hot. So have a look. I think me taking all the stuff out the bottom, just giving it a good stir up, and you know, all that bulking agent and paper has finally paid off, because have a look at this. We're back steaming. Come show them.
Open. There's somebody on the bench.
So this one here told me just throw everything away and start again.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that. I had to solve it. It was like, you know, like when you get a dog with a bone. I just had to, you know, solve it. And you know, what I would take away from these episodes are, no matter how much experience you've got with this Hotbin, it can sometimes throw up a curveball and go wrong, or something doesn't go right. But don't get like I did, Tina Turner, simply depressed. I mean, simply the best. But just make sure you sort of trace back what you've done and see where you've gone wrong. In my instance, I put too much grass in one go and maybe too many apples, and that caused it to go smelly, and then it took me ages to sort of, you know, get that to dry out, and, you know, to get everything back up to temperature. But, you know, one day's sort of eagerness to put stuff in has caused me 3 weeks of headaches and
sleepless nights.
Yeah, sleepless nights, coming out with a torch, checking every day, checking what's going on. So all I want you to take away from this is, whatever's happening with that Hotbin, it will work. It's just the way you're using it. If it's not coming up to temperature, then there is always a cause. So just trace back your steps and you will find out what has gone wrong. So I hope this video has helped someone out. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up, leave some comments for her, and subscribe. Thanks for watching and happy composting.
And well done.